Somewhere between living and dreaming, there's New York. These lights will truly inspire you. I had always dreamed to live in the city since I was a teen, and now 10 years later, I get to say, I am a proud resident. There are many valuable life experiences I owe to the city. New York has taught me to have courage and fear nothing and dream hard enough to eventually launch my very own business.
Wait a minute. Let me show you what New York is really about. Let go.
Sit up, never like you know it's put you back in with them automatics. We gon' send them to heaven. Wait. Hey. Woo. Oh, you feeling sturdy, Shake it.
Hola, bonitas. Welcome to our newest episode of Bonita Travel Diaries, New York City edition. We're kicking it off right here in Uptown, baby. We're in Washington Heights. We're gonna walk you through Dyckman, and we're gonna highlight some of the most iconic Latino-owned businesses that Washington Heights has to offer. From here, we're gonna go to Brooklyn, we're gonna go to Queens, and we're gonna show you what real city life is like here in New York City. Come follow me. Good.
So nice to meet you up here.
I know. Well, let's introduce Melissa. This is Melissa Vargas.
Hi.
She is a dear Bonita friend. Melissa and I had the pleasure of working together at our former jobs before we quit that 9-to-5 and started doing the freelancing hustle. And now she's a part of the Bonita project team. She works with me on a few projects. Yes. Melly, if you want to share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Danny took me under her wing at my very first job, my very first PR job, and I've learned so much about her, and she's one of the people that has taught me how to really honor my culture and how to be loud and proud and make sure that we're heard everywhere.
That is right. So Melissa, thank you so much for joining us in our New York City edition episode.
Yes, of course.
Of Bonita Travel Diaries. And while the reason why I wanted to do this episode, it's not like we're highlighting any other country, we're highlighting New York City itself. So I wanted to do this very special episode highlighting all things New York City because, for those that don't know, I moved here 10 years ago. You know this. You know the story.
I know the story. And all the details.
I've always wanted to live in New York since I was a teenager, and I kid you not, since I was a teen, I wanted to live in New York City. And when I was in college, when I was an undergrad, I gave myself like a 4-year plan of like what to do next. I needed to get the internship. I needed to get my first job. Like I fantasized about New York City. My college, I kid you not, my college apartment, I had New York City pictures everywhere. The skyline, everything was all about
basically everything you see in movies.
Yeah, everything that you see in movies, right? And of course, I was a fan of Sex and the City. I was a fan of the city. Anything that had to do with New York City, I loved. And I thought that when I would move here eventually, that I was gonna have this fabulous city girl life, right?
And fulfill a fantasy that we see on TV.
Correct, fulfill this fantasy. Fast forward to the year 2021. I look back at that girl. I look back at who I was at 22, and I'm just like, I really had my head in the clouds, but it's normal. It's normal. Like I'm a dreamer. Many of us are dreamers that want to live this fantasy life. And now having lived for 10 years in New York, I can tell you this, it's not what it's like in the movies, okay? Sex and the City is not real. As much as I love the show, and as much as I'm a big fan of the whole cast and the whole concept, it's not real. It's not real. And after living here for 10 years, and I've never lived in Manhattan, so I mean, I can only speak for what I've lived, and I've always lived in Brooklyn. You're a Brooklyn girl.
Yeah, Brooklyn girl, those fantasies, I knew that's not what life was like.
Yeah.
But it's still a bit of a culture shock as you continue to grow up and you enter the workforce.
Right. And I think that, you know, the reason why I wanted to do an episode and highlighting all these different boroughs, because we're going to visit, you know, we're uptown now, but we're going to visit Brooklyn, we're going to visit Queens. I wanted to highlight these Latino neighborhoods that are there's so many prominent Latino neighborhoods across New York City that get overlooked. They get overlooked in the media, they get overlooked in the movies. A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of diversity in all of these boroughs because it's always focused and centered around Manhattan. Like, we all love Manhattan. Yes, I'm not trying to take anything away from Manhattan. I think Manhattan is a beautiful piece of New York. I get that. It's a beautiful island. I get that. However, you know, it's now I get frustrated because I'm on social media, I'm on TikTok, and I'm watching all of these, you know, influencers hype up New York and like, you gotta go to this best coffee shop and like, you gotta get brunch here. And it's like, yeah, I mean, those are cool spots that come and go all the time. But what about the staples? Like, what about the iconic restaurants that have been here for decades?
And the Latino-owned businesses
Exactly.
too. The culture of New York, that it's not what we just like see in movies or in like Sex and the City, or like to Danielle's point, the brunches in Manhattan. It's about the little bodega. It's about the place to get like the best chicharrón or the best chimi. Obviously, just talking about Dominican food because I'm Dominican.
The best taco. Like, I'm gonna take you guys to see some of the gems that New York City has to offer that is not just in Manhattan. Like, we're gonna venture and really get to see some hidden gems. And again, you know, with my small little team, it's not like we're gonna be able to see all of New York. I mean, we're doing the best that we can. And this most likely will have to be a part 1 because a part 2 will have to come at another time.
Absolutely.
But, you know, again, this is with the intention of highlighting small businesses, our Latino roots, our Latino neighborhoods, and we're gonna go get a bacon, egg, and cheese this morning because you gotta start your morning off with a bacon, egg, and cheese.
And a cafecito because I'm still running on E.
And a café con leche, and then from here on out, if we still have room, I mean, obviously la dieta se fue pa fuera, so we're gonna continue to nibble on a few more bites. It's gonna be a full day agenda of a lot of fun things.
Excited.
So let's get ready to party.
Hey, what's up? Hey, Danny. Hey, Melly.
All right, so I'm gonna get a bacon, egg, and cheese.
Oh, yo, claro. Bacon, egg, and cheese for me too, por favor.
And dos cafés con leche.
Sí, con una azúcar, por favor.
All right,
Actually,
got 2 sugars. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At every New York City street corner, you'll spot a bodega. The name bodega originates from the Spanish word storeroom. A majority of them were opened by Latinx immigrants who came to New York after World War II. For breakfast, we're having a bodega menu classic of bacon, egg, and cheese, and cafecito.
So when was it that you started working at the bodega, or your family bought the bodega? What year was that?
My father bought the store in 1998.
Okay, 90s. Oh.
And you run it with your godfather now.
And it's me and my brother. My
and
godfather's
your
helping me out here.
Nice, nice. And how's that been?
It's good. We're family, so it's always nice to work with family.
Yeah. And what's your favorite thing about running the bodega?
I guess waking up in the morning, I have something to do. Like, there's no off days, you could say. So it's like you have a purpose.
How many days a week do you work?
Every
day.
And
7 days
you don't
a week.
have days off.
I don't know. It was such a pleasure to come to your store. You know, we're all about supporting local, like small businesses, Latino-owned businesses. That's like a very big mantra of ours at the Bonita Project. So thank you so much for hosting us this morning.
For the bacon, egg, and cheese.
For the bacon, egg, and
Anytime.
cheese, for the café con leche. Anything you want to share with our bonitas?
Keep supporting your locally owned businesses,
Yeah.
small independent businesses.
Okay. Well, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Washington Heights has become the largest Dominican community in the U.S., known widely as the Little Dominican Republic. Dominican immigrants have made such a deep impact in the area since they started immigrating in the 60s and were quick to set up multiple businesses. Today, Washington Heights is home to more than 160,000 residents and is still defined by its immigrant community. Up next, we are taking you on a foodie experience to Manhattan's favorite Venezuelan neighborhood food truck, Patacon Pisao.
So, for those that are not familiar with the Patacon Pisao truck, they were the very first ones to bring Patacon to Uptown. I mean, it's Venezuelan, okay? This is all Venezuelan street food. Did you know that?
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, they're the ones that claim that brought the patacones and the arepa and, bueno, all the Venezuelan food that you see influenced in New York, they were the first. So, I'm gonna try this Patacon and I'll report back and let you know how it tastes.
Uptown is known for its many barbershops, but there is one iconic shop that stays busy 24/7. Today, you are meeting the barber to the stars, José López.
Mi nombre es José Moisés López, dominicano, República Dominicana. Me dicen Jordan, my nickname, como dicen. Comencé en el 98 a ser barbero con mi madre en un salón que ella tenía. Después, como a los 2 años, hice mi propia barbería allá en el Bronx. En el 2000, después a los 10 años, abrí este local aquí en el Alto Manhattan. Como yo jugaba béisbol, yo soñaba con recortar los peloteros. Estaba siempre cerca del estadio de los Yankees, iba al estadio a tirarme fotos con los peloteros. Después jugué con un amigo mío que lo filmaron en la Grandes Ligas, con los Marlins. Ahí conocí a Luis Castillo, Albert Pujol, Edgar Rentería. Después de ahí lo demás fue historia. Gracias a Dios, casi el 95% de todos los peloteros me conocen. Todo el que viene, siempre los barberos comienzan a hacer cuentos, chistes, a jugar dominó, a hablar de deporte, a hablar de la farándula, hablan de todo. Eso es una terapia mentalmente. Snoop Dogg, Dave Bryan, el futbolista, Alex Rodríguez, Albert Pujol, Pedro Martínez, Robinson Cano, Carlos Beltrán, son muchos. A la comunidad me gustaría que se siga uniendo más así como está, que estamos creciendo mucho, gracias a Dios, y que echamos para adelante. Tú sabes que este es un país de oportunidades, es un país de sueños, que tú lo puedes lograr todo.
In New York, you will spot botanicas all over, especially in Latinx neighborhoods. Botanicas sell religious and spiritual goods such as amulets, candles, and herbs that can be used in holy practices. These stores are rooted in the Afro-Latinx diaspora and have traditionally served the Caribbean Latinx community. When Latinos from Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba began immigrating to the United States, they brought these aspects of their culture along with them.
Okay, Bonitas, we just wrapped up in Uptown. Up next, we are gonna do a Colombian chiva right in New York City, baby. So, vamos, parceros. We're gonna go and get the Colombian experience in New York. Vamos.
While we were filming our NYC episode, it collided with an influencer event we were hosting for one of our spirit clients from Viejos de Caldas, Colombia's finest rum. To kick off Latinx Heritage Month, we gathered a small group to experience a bar crawl in a Colombian chiva, aka party bus, across Manhattan. The evening was filled with lots of dancing, lots of shots, and overall an epic time. Bushwick was once a predominantly white neighborhood. However, this started to change in the 60s and 70s once Puerto Rican immigrants and Black Southerners started to move in. A neighborhood that was once known for crime has now turned into an art hotspot.
Okay, Bonita, so we are in Bushwick, Brooklyn, which has a prominent Latinx community here that actually migrated back in the 1970s. And there's a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of Dominican influence here in Bushwick. However, over the last couple of years, due to gentrification, the Latinx community has slowly been pushed out. However, there are still some iconic spots here, and what's lovely about Bushwick is that there's a lot of street art to take in and admire. There's a popular organization called the Bushwick Collective that is in charge of basically putting together a lot of street art all across Bushwick, and we are going to capture some of those sightings in this video today. And I am actually a fairly new Bushwick resident that just moved here a couple of months ago. I've always lived in Brooklyn, but I'm a fairly new Bushwick resident and I absolutely love it here. It's very rich with a lot of culture, a big nightlife scene, a lot of food trucks at night in certain areas of Bushwick, and you guys are gonna follow me to check this out. Come.
The first Latinx immigrants to Bushwick were Puerto Ricans, but now the largest immigrant groups are Dominicans, Mexicans, and Ecuadorians, making up 56% of the Bushwick population. Italian influence is also present here, and you will find iconic businesses such as Circo's Pastry Shop, which has been around since 1945. Now, let's enjoy a walk in the park with a classic Mr. Softy ice cream cone. Here we are at Maria Hernandez Park, which was named after a community leader who died trying to fight the drug issue in the 80s. Located on Irving and Knickerbocker Avenue, the community park welcomes families and pets for barbecues, volleyball, basketball, handball, and more.
Hola, bonitas. Okay, so we are gonna end our night in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, which happens to be another neighborhood that I had the pleasure of living in. And let me tell you, I discovered it's definitely my first favorite taco truck in all of New York City. It's iconic, and I'm gonna say that it truly is iconic to Brooklyn. And se llama el Tacos El Bronco, and it's right here in Sunset Park. It's on 37th and 5th where we are now, and I'm gonna go crazy with these tacos. I'm gonna order taco de lengua, taco de cabeza, taco de tripa, tacos al pastor, obvio, un taco de chorizo. I'm not gonna eat all of that. I'm gonna have the guys help me out. But I want you guys to see for yourself how authentic these tacos are right here in Brooklyn. Come on.
Sunset Park, also known as Industry City, has about 35% Latinx residents. Along 5th Avenue to the west, bakeries famed for their pastel de elote, taquerias, and money transfer businesses cater predominantly to a Dominican, Puerto Rican, and Mexican population.
A ver, so we're gonna open the first round of tacos, and I'm gonna get the guys to try their first taco of al pastor, cabeza, lengua. They haven't tried any of that.
Pero a la antigüita y puro calibre 50 chiquitita.
Bueno, bonitas, we made it to the Boogie Down Bronx. We're right now in South Bronx, and we're gonna visit some of the iconic local spots in the area. We're gonna go to Lip Bar, we're gonna go to the Bistro restaurant, which is actually inspired by all things hip hop, and of course, a tribute to the Bronx. And then we're gonna make our way further uptown to Fordham, and we're gonna have some fritura. So we're gonna go to this famous bakery called Cuchifritos Bakery. We're gonna have some mofongo, some pastelito, un morisoñando, and I'm just ready to eat. Let's go.
New York City's most Latino identifying borough is none other than the Bronx. The South Bronx, also known as Mott Haven, is home to many young businesses such as the Lip Bar, the only independent bookshop owned by Bronx native Noel Santos. Right next door, you will spot Bistro, a dining and entertainment venue resembling a speakeasy decorated in graffiti art, soul food, and hip-hop memorabilia while serving delicious Southern and Puerto Rican food. Next, we headed to Fordham Heights, which is rich with small businesses. We stopped to have lunch at 188 Bakery Cuchifritos, a lunch counter that oozes and emanates that flavor of the Bronx. Opened by Cuban immigrant Jose Cotto in 1982, this restaurant serves Puerto Rican and Dominican fried dishes. Anthony Bourdain also paid a visit here in 2014. Now let us feast on pastelitos, mofongo, and the morisoñando. Cheers! Okay, bonitas, we now welcome you to Queens, the most diverse borough in all of New York. We visit the iconic Colombian bakery Rico Pan for breakfast. In 2018, our favorite Colombian artist J Balvin stopped by and gave it his stamp of approval. The bakery offers daily fresh out of the oven baked goods from pan de bonos, buñuelos, empanadas, arepas, and so much more.
Okay, bonitas, so we went a little in with our order, so I'm gonna give you guys a sneak peek of what we're gonna have to eat this morning. Chorizo con arepita, hello. Then una arepa de choclo dulce with queso fresco. This is like by far one of my favorite things to eat in the morning. Un pan de bono con una empanada, un buñuelo, y no pudo faltar, like hello, el café con leche, which yes, I did 3 scoops of sugar because why not? That's how you do café con leche, right? So, bon appetit!
Queens has the densest cluster of Latinos. The neighborhoods of Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, and Corona are home to a combined 207,000 Latinx residents. As reported by the 2020 census, both Latino and Asian residents outnumber whites for the first time in history. The Mexican immigrant population has made a huge impact in neighborhoods like Corona, where you will find many street vendors selling the best, authentic street food. Queens is a true melting pot, bringing together many Latinos from all backgrounds and a strong working class looking for a bright future.
Okay, bonitas, we are now going to feast on the best birria tacos you are going to find in all of New York City. And it's right here in Jackson Heights, Queens. And when I tell you, I actually had to listen to all of the hype This taco truck standing right beside me is considered the #1 birria taco spot in New York, and it's been featured everywhere. It was written by the New York Times. It blew up on TikTok, and I had to come for myself the other day to actually believe the hype and see, okay, what are these tacos about? And I took a bite of my birria taco, and let me tell you, it was life-changing. It was like a bomb of flavor in my mouth. And when I tell you, it is by far it's top five. This and Tacos El Bronco, which shout out to Sunset Park. But I highly recommend, and now I'm gonna have you get a sneak peek behind Birria Tacos by Birrilandia. Okay, come.
You can find Birrialandia on Roosevelt Avenue and the corner of 78th Street, or take the subway line 7E, F, R, and M.
So, I feel like you guys have had enough of me eating. You guys have seen me eat like all summer with the Bonita Foodie Tour, and now I'm here eating again. I already know what these tacos taste like. I'm gonna put this first reaction test and hand it off to my lovely friend here, Oscar. Oscar, tú nunca has tomado un birria taco, ¿verdad?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna film his first reaction to the birria taco.
So,
okay?
let's see, yeah?
A ver, ponle su limón primero. A ver, ahora mételo ahí, mételo como si fuera una cuchara. Una cuchara, y ahora... Yep. Don't exaggerate. What do you think?
Está muy bueno. I mean, it tastes so good. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay, I'm here. He's dripping. Okay, Bonita, so we are bringing this New York City episode to an end right here in Queens, New York. I am standing in Flushing Meadows Park, which was built in 1939. And right behind me, you have the Unisphere, which is the famous globe and became a city landmark in 1995. It is also home to the US Tennis Open, which is hosted every year since 1978. And right next door, you also have Citi Field, or the Mets Field, and I had to come reppin', even though I'm not a baseball fan, so don't tell anybody. But regardless, New York City, as I'm sure you guys witnessed, is amazing. Rich of so much culture, so many different multicultural communities, and I am so proud to call this my home. And Queens actually holds a very special place in my heart because it was the first borough that I moved to when I first moved to New York in 2011. I lived in Elmhurst before moving to Brooklyn, and it's also one of the most diverse boroughs in all of New York City. And a lot of Latinos live here, a lot of Latino immigrants come here, and with one dream, right? We all have that same dream to make it big, because if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So Bonitas, I love you, I love New York, and I hope you enjoyed it, and tune in until the next one. Bye.